In this morning's Eye on Money, millions of Americans will consider buying a home next year. The number of sales of existing homes this year is expected to reach nearly 5.5 million. That's the highest since 2006. But inventory is down. The real estate firm Trulia says the number of available starter homes dropped by more than 10%. CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger is here to explain what that means for buyers. Jill, good morning.
Good morning.
If you want to buy a home, should you be getting nervous now with the market sort of where it is?
Well, I think it's fine. If we look at what has happened in the past year, it's been a very good year for both existing and new home sales. So we don't have the latest data, but through November, we know that existing home sales are up nearly 6% from a year ago. New home sales up by almost 18% from a year ago. Now, as you mentioned in the intro, inventory is down. That has pushed up prices, which has made it a little bit harder to get into the market.
So mortgage rates expected to push 4.6% by the end of this year. What does that mean for the housing market?
I think a lot of people look at this and they get like freaked out. Oh my God, 4.5 or 5%. And
there was a time that was like
that was a good rate. But
yeah.
I also want to point out that let's look at sort of the average house. You buy a $250,000 house, you get a $200,000 mortgage. Now, if you look back a month or two ago and you say, oh, what was it like at 3.5%, my monthly payment, right? And that monthly payment was just under $900 a month. Yeah. At 4.5%, which is a big move, it's $1,013. Now, I'm not saying everybody can pull in that extra $115 a month or so, but a lot of people can, and the economy is slowly improving, and if your wages are rising enough, you should be able to still afford it.
Jill, as we telescope into the future, the incoming Trump administration and House Republicans have promised tax reform. What are the implications there for interest rates and mortgages?
Well, this is an interesting part of the tax reform because what happened is Steve Mnuchin, who's the incoming potential Treasury Secretary, went on the air and said, the tax reform is not just going to be a big gift to wealthy people. What it's going to be is a tax rate which will drop, but we may limit itemized deductions. What's an itemized deduction? Mortgage interest. Now, the industry, the housing industry, the real estate people out there, they're freaking out because obviously one component of making a house affordable is the deductibility of mortgage interest. They're going to fight hard against that. Maybe a compromise is that they limit deductions to, say, $200,000 for a family, and that would really only impact the wealthiest Americans if you have $1 million mortgage, but not everybody else.
What's the current limit now?
So there is no limit. There are certain phase-outs that push you into the alternative minimum tax. But most Americans can take advantage of mortgage interest deduction.
So with prices back to 2006 levels, has the housing market now effectively recovered?
Well, that prices are back at nominal levels. Don't glaze over. Nominal just means the number itself. But if we inflation adjust it, okay, if you actually look at inflation, we see that house prices are still about 16% below where they were. Let me just put that in perspective. You buy a house in, say, the year 2006, that house is worth $200,000. If it just grew by inflation, it's $276,000 today. So inflation does count.
Can we give a special shout out to your mom, Jill?
We love my mom. Anthony, give my mother a holiday kiss right now. Say, Susan.
Favorite son.
Susan?
Jill Schlesinger. It's always good to see you, Jill. Thank you for clarifying a confusing topic.